that was the hardest part to me when they were moving on out of the house, because I tried to keep that boundary in line of a parent friend as they were growing up. But I also, I wanted to build a friendship with them so that when they were gone, we can be friends like we are now. Like some of my closest friends are my children now.
It's painful I read one time that raising kids is like a slow breakup. You know, you just put so much time and energy and love, and then it hurts. Welcome to Let's Talk About That, the podcast where we dive into conversations about life and share stories of faith. We're thrilled to be on this journey with you. Whether you're a longtime listener, someone who calls the Orchard home, or you're just stopping by, Let's Talk About That is your space to explore, reflect, and connect. Join us as we navigate the intricacies of faith, spiritual formation, and daily life as we invite guests to share their stories with us. So grab a cup of coffee, find a comfortable space, and let's do this together. This is Let's Talk About That, where you can be encouraged and inspired by God's work in our lives.
All right, we're back. Let's talk about that special edition, the Momcast. We're bringing the Momcast back today. We do this every now and then. If you have been with the Orchard podcast feed for a minute, you remember back in the day, we had a little run of some Momcast episodes with some moms that led to some great conversations of gum stuck in hair and the joys of being a mom. And then we've invited some other moms on to talk in the past. And I think last year around Mother's Day, we got to hear about moms trying to dislocate their elbow, reaching behind them in a car to swat a kid's leg because of what. So, we've all been there. We know what that's like. But on today's Momcast, we have some special guests with us. We have Miss Carla Collins from our Branford location. We have Katie Glover from our Lake City location and Hallie Tillman from our Live Oak location. And they're smiling and waving, but you can see none of that because it's a podcast. So they're going to talk eventually. Let me give you a little rundown on part of why we have these particular moms around the table is, number one, we've got moms from all three of our locations. And number two, we have moms from different stages of being a mom. We got Miss Carla, who is been a mom the longest around the table. Why don't you tell us about yourself and your kids for a second, Miss Carla?
Okay. I am a mom of three. Our oldest is actually my bonus child when I got married. And then we have, which is our son. And then we have a middle son, Trevor, and I have my youngest is Kinley. And
how old are they, age ranges?
Trevor is 24, Kinley is 22.
Yeah, so out of the house.
The two youngest ones come and go quite a bit, but they are actually moved out of the house, which, it's not a bad thing. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah. So Carla has been here at the Orchard longer than any of us at the table, myself included, done a little bit of everything, but spend the most time in kids ministry.
Correct.
Right.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So you not only are you a mom, but you get to be like second voice mom to kids and kids ministry and student ministry and all that fun stuff. Carla was for a long time like the games guru for student ministry.
Yes, I'm still doing that.
Are you still doing that in Branford?
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were still doing that in Branford.
I am.
So they taught us a new game at Bold this year. I don't know if you guys have played it yet, but they call it Gorilla Man Gun. It's kind of like paper, rock, scissors, except you have to go like back to back, and gorilla beats up man.
I've seen that.
Have you seen that?
I've
Gorilla
seen it,
beats man. Man controls gun shoots gorilla, and they have to like go back to back and jump and everything. It's crazy. It was funny. We did it at Bold as part of a team competition. And like one girl off of a team had to take down like 4 guys from another team because they had just so many that made it to the final. And she took them down one by one, and the place went nuts. It was hilarious. So she was over there playing 4D chess, and those kids didn't even know what was happening. So
Gracie went through a time where she wanted to play bad, but she would say, "Jesus wins."
Jesus wins.
Everybody. It could be the boys every time.
That's the ultimate Jesus juke when you just drop the Jesus wins every time. To quote our friend AJ, Jesus doesn't lose. Which Gracie is kind of the boss of the house, though. So this is Katie Glover. Katie, tell us about yourself, your kids.
I'm Katie. I've been here at the Orchard about 3 years. When we moved back home, we have 3 kids. Gracie, she's 9. Eli is 12, and Joel, 15.
Now, if Katie sounds familiar to you, it's not because she's been on the podcast before. It's because Katie is Mary Beth's sister, and we have been debating on how much they sound alike.
Very much. Yes.
Drop in the comments.
Yeah, and drop in the comments. It's going to be interesting because at some point, Mary Beth is going to join us, I think, for the podcast, but we had to get started early because, Hallie, you guys have a doctor's appointment you got to make it to for the little ones, and Mary Beth is at awards for her little ones, and so she's just going to catch up as we go. But I'm wondering if we even introduce Mary Beth when she comes in or just let her start talking and see if anybody can pick up that Mary Beth has joined and it's not just Katie. So, all right. Well, last at the table, we have Miss Hallie Tillman. Now, you've been on the podcast before, but in case they missed it, tell us about yourself, kids, how you got here, all the fun stuff.
Yeah. So, I'm Hallie. Yep. Again. And we have 2 kids. I'm probably the rookie at the table. We have a 2-year-old Jessie, who will be 3 in August. And that's our oldest little girl. And then our youngest, Blakely. If you hear any background noises that are random, it's her. She's in here with us.
You need to let her step up to the microphone, let Blakely say hi to everybody.
Hey. Can you say hey?
Can you say hey?
Can you say hey? No. She's getting stage fright.
Yeah.
But she just turned a year old Saturday. So, yeah, we go to the Orchard in Live Oak. And I think I started coming to the Orchard in 2019, but then moved to Tennessee a couple years later. And then when we came back, we started in Lake City and then ended up going back to Live Oak. So,
nice.
So we've been at the Orchard a while.
Nice. So the thing that I really like about having you guys at the table, like I already said, is not just from different locations, but different stages, right? So we have Carla, you got kids that are out of the house. Katie, you have teens and tweens, kind of in that stage of life. And that's where, Leanne and I are with our kids. And then Hallie, you still got the littles and the babies and, they're with you everywhere all the time. So I thought it'd be a cool conversation just coming from those different stages of being a mom. But before we get into any serious conversation, I want to ask you guys a question. And Hallie, you've been on the podcast before, so I think you were asked this question. Everybody who comes on gets asked the question, if you were a flavor, what flavor would you be? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I got tired of taking flack from old men who don't like the chit-chat part of the first part of the podcast. They're like, I don't like listening to that, what flavor are you? So I changed it up last week. We had a guest on last week, and the question that I asked her, and then Mary Beth, because they work together at Eliano's, I asked them, all right, well, if you were a coffee, what coffee would you be? And they had some interesting answers. I learned a lot about coffee. I learned that an Americano is espresso with water and water, which is weird, but apparently that's what it is, water and then ice. I don't know, it was weird. But for you guys, since this is the Momcast, let me ask you this question. If you were a TV mom, which TV mom would you be? Which TV mom are you most like? Anybody want to go first?
Taking it.
Well, it would have to be a mom that's super Southern because I worried all week about what this flavor was going to be, right?
Yes.
So I came loaded for the flavor answer. So I asked my kids, I'm like, so what do you think? And we'd all ran around, and it finally came out it would be peach, because I love peach teas or peach lemonade because they're sweet and Southern. So I need to be a sweet Southern TV mom, apparently.
A sweet Well, look, number one, I am here for the peach flavor. I am in a peach flavor season of my life right now. I went by, so it was cool. Yesterday, I was preaching in Live Oak, and Haddon, our oldest, was serving in the sound booth in Lake City for both services. But Leanne woke up not feeling really good, and she couldn't make it to church. And so I brought Haddon, dropped him off in the morning. He served both services. Trey brought him home. So that was kind of cool. His first time being in church by himself, doing his own thing, serving. But part of the deal is when he wakes up early to get to church early to serve, I take him by the gas station because gas station breakfast is his favorite breakfast, right? And so I was going to pick up a Celsius, and we went by the gas station, and they did not have the orange Celsius, which is my go-to morning energy drink. But they did have a drink I've seen Leanne have a few times, which is the Peach Fizz Alani energy drink. It's got this little teal looking, it's a very girly looking energy drink. And I was like, you know what? That's all right. I'm in my peach season right now. And so I got that. Let me tell you, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Peach fit. It was so good. It was so good. Leanne was like, that's kind of a girly drink. I'm like, I don't care. I drink black coffee. I can drink a peach fizz energy drink if I want to.
There you go.
So I'm here for that. But
Yeah.
TV mom. So are we thinking like Judy Cleaver, Harriet Winslow? You know Harriet Winslow?
I do.
Okay. I was just making sure you didn't respond to that. Like,
Yeah,
Family Matters was back in the
Yes,
day.
Family Matters.
I was, what was the mom off the Gilmore Girls?
Oh, I don't remember her name.
I don't know.
I've only watched pieces of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you got TV mom for us?
I don't. I can't think of I don't know who it would be.
Yeah. I'm thinking like, I don't know. I guess you can just go peach flavor.
Yeah.
Southern mom.
Some kind of Southern mom.
I think Southern.
That's what I'm thinking.
You know, Southern mom, Southern sitcoms. All I can think of is Peggy Hill off the King of the Hill, but I don't think you're a Peggy
I
Hill.
definitely
I
don't.
don't think you're a Peggy Hill. All right. What about you, Katie?
So I texted, and
She phoned a friend. I should have
I found it.
You phoned a friend.
Listen, I was ready for the
Flavor. See, man,
you've messed us up.
so
First lesson for the Momcast is moms come in prepared.
yes, I'll keep that in my back pocket for next time. But TV mom Tammy Taylor from Friday Night Lights.
Oh, that's a good one.
There you go.
That's a good one.
Loved the show.
Oh, that was one of Leanne's favorites.
Oh, so good, so good. Coach Taylor, all the things. She was it just seemed kind of like a regular mom, like, you know, supported her husband, managed the kids, worked.
At sports fields all the time.
Love the sports fields. I'm there all the time. A little frazzled sometimes, not afraid to speak her mind when she's super passionate about something. But I go with the flow if not.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. I like that answer. That's good. That's good.
Very good.
What about you, Hallie?
Guys, I'm stumped on this one. Chip.
Are you? You
I'm
got
like-
nothing for me?
Nothing. I'm like,
Well,
I'm
that's
going
not
back to
true.
Disney Channel days, which is decades ago. And I'm like, I don't even remember their names. Yeah.
That's not entirely true though, because when I gave you guys, and I'm gonna be upfront, I'm gonna spoil it. Nobody gets an outline, but I gave the moms an outline of some of the stuff we're gonna talk about, and you saw the question, you guys were like, "Oh shoot, I don't know." And so that's why you had time. Katie prepared to get an answer. She called in, phone a friend. That's funny. But Hallie, you immediately had one that jumped to your mind.
But I said Reba. Oh, that's maybe all I know, but
And that's fine. You don't have to be like it. Just because Reba was single on the show doesn't mean you're throwing shade at Dan. That's not what we're talking about right now. You're a singer. You got a little sass with you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm here for Reba. That's fine.
I'm definitely competitive like her, the creative side, and I try to make time for fun with the kids. So
I like it.
Yeah,
What's your
that's
favorite?
right.
What's your favorite Reba song?
I think it's kind of overrated, but Fancy. Everybody loves the song Fancy.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Story. Yeah.
It's storytelling, man.
Yeah.
Storytelling. Good songs. Good songs. That's why Garth Brooks is the GOAT and Chris Gaines was a terrible, terrible memory that we all regret. Do you remember the Chris Gaines thing?
Very briefly.
Yeah.
Pretty young.
Yeah, you're probably too young for that one.
Yeah. I
Like,
remember when he made his persona change.
Yeah.
I was like,
It was weird.
my dad was really mad when that he had like, what are we doing? I don't know what's happening right now. All right. So, let's get into talking about being a mom, especially, moms at different stages, right? Because you guys are doing these things with your kids that are not exactly the same, right? Like, so Carla, you talked about, hey, your kid's still dropping by, hanging around. Hallie, your kids are literally hanging around, like on your leg, your arm and everything. So let's start here. Let's start with an easy question. Just throw it out there. What has been your favorite memory as a mom? Like, it doesn't have to be like, when I'm saying favorite, don't think, like the number one all time. If you don't remember, that's fine. But just like at least a favorite memory of being a mom. What jumps to mind there?
Well, we were just flipping through a scrapbook last night, and
A scrapbook?
scrapbook.
Did you go through the scrapbook phase?
Yes.
Hard?
Ish.
Yeah. Carla?
are you still in the face?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know, but I knew that Carla was 100% in the scrapbook.
100%. Yes,
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah. Now I just like once a year I just slap them on, kind of a thing. It's not nearly what it used to be, but I like to be able to tangibly hold it and see it, and just seeing just the kids playing, you know, just snapshots of normal everyday life when they were more like your age. And like Gracie, there was a picture of her riding a tricycle with a baseball helmet on with no shirt and princess panties, you know, and it's like, it looks so funny. I'm like, that was your everyday attire, you know. We have pictures of the boys hitting a baseball off the tee with her, or she putting the ball on the tee for the boys to hit in the cage, and just little memories like that.
Yeah, that's funny, because you would think in such a boy-heavy environment, so sports, outdoor-driven, that Gracie may be more of a tomboy. And not that she doesn't have like she's tough.
A little sass.
She's tough, but she's all girl.
Yes.
And that's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, we have a picture of her in a smocked dress with a Nerf gun, like like a Nerf gun rifle, like going around the house. And just little things, the everyday moments.
I like that. Somebody else, what's your...
I would say some of my most fondest memories with my kids was we were always involved in some type of summer camp, whether it was with church or whatever. And, of course, I always had to go along as a chaperone. But those were some of the funnest times to me, like especially like when we get to kids camp here at the Orchard, and it was just a fun week. All week, they could just cut up and act however they want, and I could just go along and do that with them. And just yesterday, matter of fact, I spent the day with our middle son at amusement park. I'm all about having some fun with my kids. I always have, still am. And he brought up some memories of his camp. And I'm like, yeah, those are some of my favorite times, just because we could just, you know, loosen up and have a good time. And then I was all for it.
I like that. So how old's Trevor now? You said
24.
24. Best age for a kid at amusement park, because he can like do things you like to do now?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what's an amusement park like with a 24-year-old child as opposed to a 14 or 4-year-old child?
I stood in line yesterday and watched these parents, you know, with those little crying 4-year-olds. It's hot and they're crying. And so we stood in line for one ride for close to an hour, and we get to the door and the one child just starts crying, doesn't want to get on the ride. And Trevor and I look at each other and we're like, no, that would kill me. Like, you're no way. We were at the door to get on the line. They had to turn around and leave. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not in those.
That was those days.
They got here for have a good.
Yeah.
Trevor just,
you are going to ride and you are going to enjoy this.
That is exactly what Trevor said. I would have made them get on that ride. We would have went.
This is validating mine and Daniel's thing. We're putting off Disney as long as possible. We as parents, which I know is like, we're like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
We did it when our kids were 5 and 7 for the first time. And then now, you know, we did a few like Night of Joy, that kind of stuff when they were teenagers. Yeah. But, you know, now they're in their 20s. It's a great day.
It's a great day.
Yeah. So we did the Disney thing a little bit early because we tried to take advantage of when Chasen was still young enough to get in for free, but hadn't had to have the ticket, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a time, that time is no more, when Florida residents could get season passes or year passes at Disney pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, and we did that one year. It's like, hey, that's going to be his Christmas present. He's little. We can just get him little knickknacks, and then that'll be the cool thing we do all year, take Chasen. But, you know, even as cheap as it was, where we were, stage of life we were, it was still a big financial commitment. Mm-hmm. And so the deal that we made each other is, if we have year tickets, we're going to go until it stops being fun. Right? Because when you're there and you're buying a ticket, you're like, we are going to be here from open to close. We're going to watch the fireworks. You're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But we had the season tickets. We're like, all right, if we're there for 2 hours and it's not fun anymore, we'll load up, get a pizza on the way home, and go home because we can come back another time.
Another day.
Because 100%, there's a moment where if you have little kids in the theme park, it is not fun anymore.
You have to abort mission and like,
yes.
All systems down, we got to go.
I don't know who said this was magical, but they are full of crap. This is not magical right now.
That's what I picture when we go, and I'm like, we're going to wait a little while. We're going to wait it out.
Yeah.
Like,
good plan. Good plan. Wild Adventures.
We've never been to Legoland.
It was so good. We actually lost Eli there.
Yeah? I need to hear that story.
We did, but you can easily done for the day. Kids can walk around, not super crowded, but yeah, we did. Gracie was so small, she was in a carrier, and we were with another set of friends, we had a whole long weekend. We were going to a spring training game for the Braves and Legoland, and we actually lost him twice. But in the Legoland,
this is an encouragement. I love this.
In the Lego store in like downtown Disney, we did that, and they ran up the steps, and I had to go to the ramp with the stroller. And by the time I got in there, I couldn't find him. And I told the little security man, I was like, he's this big and blonde in a red shirt. And he's like, everybody looks like that. We eventually found him pretty quick. But when we're actually in Legoland, everybody was going on the River Rapid ride. And so Gracie was in the carrier, and her and I were just hanging out. And I was going to take pictures of everybody as they came through. Well, I could see Philip and our friend Matt and all the little kids, and they're coming around. And I'm like, Eli's not on the river raft with us. I'm like,
did he fall off?
I'm yelling at Philip, where's Eli? And he's like, he's with you. I'm like, no, he's not. And they're stuck on the river raft. And I'm like, do I stay here in case he comes back? Do I start walking around trying to find him? All the things. And he had just trickled back in the line and was standing with another family, and nobody noticed.
Oh, my.
He had just joined another group. How you guys doing? You're here for the ride.
Listen, he's the middle one, and he was just quiet and content. And, credit to Legoland, they wouldn't give him to us until he said, that's my mom and dad, and he barely talked to anybody. So, it's like...
He still barely talks to anybody.
It's true. And that was our Legoland story. But you might not look good, but it was a lot of fun.
That's hilarious. I love that. So,
good to laugh.
But before we go to Hallie's favorite moment, now that we brought up the theme park question, what is your favorite / most underrated theme park to visit? Like, if you had to go to one theme park, which one are you going to?
I'm going to say Busch Gardens, because I'm a roller coaster person.
Okay.
But I'm not like, I don't go to theme parks a lot, but I would say that's been at the top of my list.
Yeah, I'm not a big theme park person, so we had this conversation with some friends the other day about like which one do you go into. So I like that, Busch Gardens. What we got, Carla?
I'm going to say Universal.
Oh, I knew that was
because I do love roller coasters, but I also love the simulator rides. Like, there's not really a ride I don't
get
like.
So motion sick on those things.
Yeah, there's really nothing.
The Harry Potter Hogwarts ride or whatever, I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like,
Really?
oh my gosh, this butterbeer is about to come back up and it's not going to be as good. Yeah. What about you?
Busch Gardens is fun. It's been a long time since Universal. I do love rides, but right now in our season, I'm stuck with a little person that doesn't meet height requirements, so it's not quite as fun for those kinds of things. But anywhere, Wild Adventures is fun, easy for the day.
Yeah, I love the Wild Adventures aspect. I'm here for that.
Yeah,
we spend a lot of time there.
All right, look, and this may tell you just more about my family and my kids. Like, I'm the most adventurous rider in our family, and I just told you these motion rides make me sick, right? So our family go-to with my little nerd boys is we love some SeaWorld. I'm a SeaWorld stan. Like, they have like phenomenal exhibits, stuff to do besides rides. They got some decent rides if you want to do. They have one roller coaster that's pretty good. But one of the best things about SeaWorld is the food passes. You can get some food and drink passes at SeaWorld, and it is not, Disney prices, right?
Right.
And, I'm allergic to food because when I eat it, I swell up. But other than that, like, I'm all about it. I'm here for it. It's a good day. So I like that. All right, Hallie, what's your favorite mom memory so far?
In my almost 3 years of motherhood, I've been at this a long time. I would probably say it's just funny stuff they say, but when they dress themselves, like, kind of like, we have a picture of Jessie that I remember so distinctly. She has like her little rain boots on the wrong feet, a diaper, a bunch of necklaces, and then this random hat, and she's just playing with the water hose outside, but she's just living her best life. And then there's like cows in the background. It's just like it was just the perfect day. And her just like pushing around Blakely, and we're just running around the yard like that. And, it's just funny because they're so confident, and they're like, oh man, I look so good in this jewelry that I've picked out. Yeah. And you love it. And then the other day, something funny she said that's kind of at the top of our list right now is Daniel and I were like putting stuff together for Blakely's birthday party. You know how when you have like a busy day ahead, you're kind of like, hey, I forgot this, got to do this. And so I was like a little stressed out. And anyway, Daniel and I were in a little bit of heated fellowship is what we call it. And we're in the car, and Blakely and Jesse in the back seat in their car seats. And Jesse goes, Mommy, Daddy, we need to chill. We need to chill. Chill for Blakely. And I don't know. We just thought it was hilarious. We were trying not to laugh because sometimes we'll say that like, hey, let's chill out. Let's calm down. We need to chill. And I'm like, maybe I need to stop saying chill, but we just thought it was funny.
I love that. That's good.
Yes,
That's good. You got the little peacemaker in the house, you know. And it's funny how those kids, like, they have that personality from early on. Like, you can kind of tell their personality from early on. That's funny. I think it's interesting, and maybe I'm reading too much of this because I do that, but like moms and you guys can't see the table, but Hallie and Katie, you're sitting on the other side of the table, and you guys on that side of the table, you still got kids in the day-to-day. You're having to do all the things, run around, chase the kids. Carla, you're on this side of the table with me, and your kids are out of the house. They come by, but it's not like you're running them here and there and doing all the things with, all the time anymore. It's interesting that Hallie and Katie, your favorite mom memory was looking back at like this still image where you can back and remember that time and that moment where it's, oh, that was a good moment. And Carla, your memory is, no, we were just standing side by side, like they're having that conversation. And to me, I'm thinking that's really interesting, right? Because sometimes when they're little, you're so much in the go, do, that you have to pause to step back and be like, oh, this is nice. But Carl, on the other side, now that you're not around them as much, it's when they're around that you're like, oh man, this is what I love.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I can think back, like when y'all were talking, immediately an image comes back to my mind, like that. I got a few favorites on my phone that I'll flip back and look at just because it is a portion of your life you start missing. But yes, now when we get together, it's just about when we have those opportunities to get together and do stuff that are so meaningful at the time. So yes, that's kind of the.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because somebody told Leanne and I when we were young parents that the days are long, but the years are short. And I think the older the kids get, the more you realize that.
Absolutely, for sure. I'm sure you've heard it. And so at the time, it doesn't mean what it means now. And now I'm like, every time I see somebody, like we hear graduation was going on for a lot of parents, and I can just think about all those emotions. I had that, and that was just a few years ago. And then I have, clients and friends that have kids starting kindergarten, and I'm like, you are fixing to go on a great journey. Like, now that I'm in this, I can kind of look back at all those and how important every part of that journey has been and what it's meant. So.
Yeah, that's cool. So days are long. Hallie, Katie, you're definitely in the days are long phase. What's been the hardest part of being a mom? Let's go in reverse order this time. We'll start with Hallie. What's been the hardest part of being a mom?
The hardest part? I don't know. I could think of a few different things. Motherhood's great, but it can be challenging.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I would say it can be easy to let your identity become just being a mom, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I would say is the hardest, is that, especially when they're really young and they are very dependent on you for a lot of things. I would say I struggle with only being mom all the time. And sometimes you have, you're a follower of Christ first, you're also a wife, and you're just yourself. I'm Hallie. And so I think that's where I've struggled with the most, is like trying to find that, I hate the word balance, but like just trying to figure that out. I would say that's what's been challenging for me, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I get exactly
Marriage
what you're
is
saying.
a whole different ballgame once you have kids. So I don't think we fully figured that out yet either.
Yes.
It's like we're 3 years in, we're like, okay, how do we be like mom and dad, but also take time to be Hallie and Daniel, together? So that's what I would say.
Best advice is make time for that, because as everybody, again, always said while I was going through all these times, there's going to be a time where they leave the house. So you got to make sure. And so I can see now why, because I even tease my husband every now and then, because I'll be like, we're not going to be roommates. Like, we're not just living in the house, you know? Like,
Yeah. And they can
so, right.
Yeah.
So, and we did, like, when they were really young, it was very hard to just take off and take time for ourselves. But then when they started getting involved in activities and getting in school and all that, we just had to make the time, like put it on the calendar and made the time to go and do something together, because you do get wrapped up in this is my mom and it's what I got to do over here. And you sit, not intentionally, but things just kind of start. That's what becomes your focus, or did for me. So I had to make the time to do that.
Yeah, I think that's really, important to say. When they're little, that's a tough season to do that. And, Hallie is in the middle of that, but it's funny because Mary Beth and I were talking at the office the other day. Like, it is a game changer when they hit the age that they can stay at the house while you guys go to dinner.
Absolutely.
Game changer. Like, and nobody,
again,
nobody like prepared me for that. How like that was just like, it's not a big thing. It doesn't feel like, but it was like, that's massive. Like, y'all stay at home. We'll stop by Little Caesars on the way back. Me and Mom are going to Roadhouse. We're going to chill for a little bit. Anyway,
right.
That's good.
So good.
All right, Katie. Well, what's the hardest part of being a mom with some teens and tweens running around?
I would say currently the hardest part is learning to let go. And because I'm training them to be an adult, right? And it's very difficult because you control so much of life, and just that pull of wanting to keep them safe and in a little box. And not that I don't trust, but it's hard to put words to it, but just letting go. You can't see my arms, but it's like, that's the hardest part for me right now. It's I'm in a struggle bus with that.
Harder for you or for Philip?
Oh, for me. But we'll see what happens when Gracie becomes a teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, we high five all the time. We're like, team Glover, we win. We are excited for them to be gone. We don't want 30-year-olds living with us, but it's painful to. I read one time that raising kids is like a slow breakup. You just put so much time and energy and love, and then it hurts. It hurts for them to leave.
So you that looked like it landed when she said that before about the slow breakup.
Yeah. Well, because and I've discussed this with my kids before, like, I don't feel like I'm a control, like whatever, but that was the hardest part to me when they were moving on out of the house, because I still wanted to say, you can't, you shouldn't, don't.
Have you thought about this?
Yes. And so, right. So that just letting them be their own person has been a difficult season for me, and super difficult when they made the very first move out of the home. That was some sad days for me, because I tried to keep that boundary in line of a parent-friend as they were growing up. But I wanted to build a friendship with them so that when they were gone, we can be friends like we are now. Like, some of my closest friends are my children now.
Yeah.
So, but when they're coming up in that stage, that whole parent and trying to keep control of them, difficult days. But that wanting to also just be close enough that we have a friendship going,
right? That
they would come to me and talk to me,
right.
And so that now we're in this stage of life where we can be really close friends. And
I'm realizing, and Philip and I talk about it all the time. He gets tired of me talking about it, but it's I guess it seems more real now that my focus is more on relationship versus like the dictatorship of like having little kids,
right?
Because that's what I want. You want them to come home, to visit, or let's grab a coffee or whatever. So focusing on picking my battles. We have so much equity, and Philip says, look, use that wisely. You don't have to add input on everything. But having a relationship with my kids in a friendly way is my focus now.
Well, I think that's what you just said about, you have that equity. You got to use it wisely. I think that's part of why having a circle of second voices for your kids is important. because they can say some of those things and you don't have to say some of those things.
Right.
And that's really what we mean when we say at the church, like, you're your child's primary spiritual influence. We just want to come alongside you and help, right? We want to tell them things that you would tell them if you were having the conversation with them, or so that you don't have
Or
to.
better coming from someone else.
Yeah, isn't that the most annoying thing in the world about being a parent? That they hear it from somebody else. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Carla just broke her mic. It was great. All right, well, we just had Mary Beth walk in the room and join us, and we said that we weren't going to say anything. We were just going to let you talk in the mic and see if people could, tell the difference between you and Katie. But we won't do that to you. But Mary Beth's here. We'll let her jump in here in a minute. But Carla, you've had the longest trajectory of raising those kids, that long breakup, that Katie was talking about. So having walked through all of that, what has been, at any season really, not necessarily just the season you're in now, but at any season of being a mom, what's been the hardest part of being a mom?
I'd say probably when they were in like the middle school era type age, when their friends are changing, and there's the pressures of, at that time when we were in middle school, the pressures of social media type stuff was coming out. And I was just always the strict parent that said no all the time.
Oh, I'm here for the strict parent.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. So it made for some difficult times during middle school. I would say middle school age was probably difficult because that was a time that I wanted to start building that friendship, but there was so much I had to say no to. And then them just trying to figure out who they were is sometimes a little bit heartbreaking. Things that, wasn't such a big deal in elementary, but was becoming a big deal as they were finding out who they were there in middle school and going into for different things. I mean, my kids are polar opposite, these two
That is the understatement of the year. I don't know that Kinley and Trevor would ever be thought of as brother and sister if you didn't know it.
Oh, there was a time in high school that she came home and said, "Do you know this kid, Bob? I had no idea that Trevor's my brother, and he thinks that I'm not telling him the truth." And I was like, well, I mean, I can see it. Y'all are totally different.
It's so funny because, Trevor's a lot like my oldest son. He's kind of quiet, reserved. Not that he doesn't have things to say. He's got things to say. They're usually pretty sharp and funny, but he's, willing to be in the background, not going to be the initiator. And Kinley, if you were at Jingle Jam, was just barely in character during Jingle Jam. Like her character was her. Like that's Kinley.
Pretty much her. That's right.
So that's funny. Katie, is that encouraging you hearing her say that maybe the middle school age was the tough part?
I'm at my peak.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, the climax. That's right.
Yeah,
it really was.
Yeah,
it really was.
All right, so let's throw Mary Beth on the microphone real quick because I don't want her to escape the question, and I noticed that she read it. So the new question this time, Mary Beth, was not what flavor are you, or as we talked about last week with Aston, what coffee are you? What TV mom are you? What TV mom would you be most like?
Okay, I did not read this, so it's taken me by surprise.
It took everybody by surprise, to be honest. And Hallie was the only one that had an immediate answer, but then she didn't like it.
Oh, yeah?
But she's like hung up on Rita being a single mom.
Too hard. You love your kids, though? You got the heart of a fighter. I see it.
That's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
I'm not that quick. They are so quick.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
So we threw out some different ones. Katie was Tammy Taylor from Friday Night Lights. Thought that was a phenomenal answer.
Yeah.
Carla was Peach.
Peach.
Yeah, her flavor. She just
I can't square that question.
Princess Peach. There it is. No, she was a mom, but boom, there we are.
I mean, I'm not June, but I mean, I don't know what.
We got June Cleaver. We got shoot, I don't even know what Mama Brady's name was on the Brady Bunch. We got Harriet Winslow. We got
Family Matters. Step by step. I don't know.
You can't go Full House, Mom.
Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven.
I can't remember what any of the moms were like.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's way back in the day.
I know. I remember like Home Improvement mom, but she kind of always like seemed like she was in a bad mood. So I don't.
Yeah, we also, when Carla was talking about being the Southern mom, we went at Peggy Hill, but she was like, definitely not Peggy Hill.
Not that way. No.
I don't know if I have an answer to that question.
All right.
I don't know.
We're going to let you marinate on it.
Okay.
We'll let you marinate on it.
Or phone a friend.
Phone a friend. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. We'll marinate on it and circle back, because there is, before we run out of time, we got plenty of time left, but I do want to have this part of the conversation, like technology, right? Technology is something that we've been talking about in our sermon series the last little while at church. Like, what does it mean to be a follower of Jesus in a digital world? And then I think for you guys, maybe the question is even a little bit different. What does it mean to be a follower of Jesus and a mom in a digital world? Because what I don't want to do is come on the podcast and be like, that technology is the enemy of being a parent, because it's not. It's just not. In a lot of ways, it's made it easier, but there are challenges with it. So at different stages of life, I think the helps and the hurts, the benefits and the challenges are a little bit different. So at the stage of life where you are as a mom right now, how is technology helping you be a mom and a follower of Jesus? And then how is technology making it a little bit harder to be a mom, and just challenges you're having to deal with?
Well, what's helping is school ball. You know, he can tell us practice is done. We got 20 minutes till we're back at the high school. Come pick me up. Those kind of things. It's super convenient.
Life 360?
We hadn't done that one yet.
Look, I respect that. I'm like fighting Life 360 as hard as I can.
You never done it?
Never done it?
Never done
Slap hands right here. We were at Orange Conference. I'm going to tell on her, Aaron was like Life 360 Aiden the whole time, because fair enough, her son Aiden has a little girlfriend, and she was just trying to make sure that if they went to the house, that somebody was at the house when they went.
Yeah.
And to stick up for my friend Aaron a little bit, he got a girlfriend, like his first real girlfriend, and started driving within the same week. And it was only a couple weeks before this. It was too much for Aaron.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that it was unreasonable. I'm saying we're sitting there, because it was me, you, and Aaron sitting there talking. And I was like, can you imagine the world that our parents lived in when they were like, hey, be home for dinner? Like,
yeah.
What?
Oh, no.
What?
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not going to get it, because he's not driving yet. So I still know where he is all the time. But I can see myself like obsessing over it as well. So
yeah,
I'm going to fight that, I think. Another thing, just the Bible app for kids is super convenient. There's little puzzles that go with it, and coloring and stickers and things like that. So, I mean, it's definitely convenient. Hey, I'm not coming to pick you up. Grandma, look for grandma's car or whatever, that kind of thing.
That's good. I think that's maybe overlooked, but super important.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot harder, it feels like, to forget a kid at school and leave them there for a long time now. As a kid who was forgotten at school and left there for a long time.
I was forgotten at daycare.
100% happened.
Yeah.
Happened.
The baby got picked up.
The baby
got picked up, but the toddler was left behind.
Okay, wait, that's a whole other level right there.
So my dad was in charge of picking us up from daycare this day. And also, to his defense, I feel like I was fairly new, and it wasn't his norm, and anyways. So he picked me up in the carrier. I was in a carrier, and he made it all the way home. And he didn't know this yet, but the daycare had already called mom and was like, hey, Mike left Katie here. And he didn't even realize it until he walked through the door with me in the baby carrier, and mom was like, where's Katie? And he had to go all the way back to daycare.
She's walking home.
Yeah.
That's great. That's phenomenal. All right, what's the challenge with that technology brings?
I mean, just all the things. Just the social media part, the fighting the norm first, and be in the world, not of the world, or look different, all the things. But I will say, things that I thought were going to be hard-nosed forever, I've had to swallow that pill and release that little bit to, just they need to make decisions and consequences and things like that. Have I liked any of it? Not at all. But I don't know. I'm trying to learn to just
I think that's
go
really
with
good.
the flow a little bit. But
I think that's really good because having kids like same age, like Joel and Haddon are in the same grade, Eli and Chasen are not in the same grade, but they're right
close,
there.
yeah.
One of the hardest parts is just the decisions you have to make as a parent is, there's going to come a time when they're out of the house and it's their decision no matter what.
Right.
I can still say no right now, but should I say no right now versus trusting them to make good decisions and
just lots of conversation, it can be taken away. It's a privilege.
Oh, it is taken away.
Yeah. Just all things. And it started, and probably, especially with Had, I don't know with Jason, but, when they were littler, YouTube was just starting to come up where they wanted to watch all the videos. And I was like, what's up with all this YouTube? We're
that's right.
anti-YouTube family. We're not watching
And
YouTube.
now that's all I watch in the evenings.
It's almost not reality.
Well, so I was going to say, this is one of the hardest things to me as a parent. And we've been joking about sitcoms, Step by Step, Reba, Family Matters, all that. But really those sitcoms mimicked life in a way that you dealt with real problems. Not that you're going to solve them in 30 minutes like a sitcom, but you dealt with real problems, people had real conversations. YouTube is just so over the top and clickbait and people talking by themselves and, screaming, on a game or whatever. And what I've seen is the boys start to mimic that. And it's like, hey, that's not how people act, man. Like, that's not real. That's not real. And that has been a challenge that I never saw coming. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks one day. That's why you're acting like an idiot, because that's how Unspeakable acts when you're watching him, or whatever. And anyway, that's really good. So what else? What as a mom with some little ones, Hallie, is easier with technology, and what's harder with technology, because they're not making a whole lot of decisions on their technology right now.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this stage of motherhood, technology isn't, I wouldn't say as challenging, because they don't, they're not desiring social media and, able to compare themselves, all that stuff, in some ways that it's made it easier. Everybody knows Miss Rachel, or, the little shows that you can put on here and there.
It's a good babysitter.
Yes. Yeah. And so we might put that on every now and then, 10, 15 minutes, but we really try not to rely on that or an iPad or, as long as we can, because we want them to just entertain themselves and play. But where it's hard, I think it's more so at this stage of motherhood is me being mindful of how much I'm on technology. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think if we're all honest, we're on it more than we think we are at times. And so I have to really check myself with how much am I scrolling on my phone? And when my kid's sitting beside me, am I with her? Or as I think you mentioned AJ's quote, where your body is, you can't do that if you're on your phone.
He would throw that at me because I cannot multitask. I will cut off mid-conversation if I have to respond to a text. I'll be like, hey, Mary Beth, later on. And then start sending a text. And I can't do both. And so maybe that's why I heard that quote from AJ. Where your body's at.
To just not even try to tell me something if I'm on my phone, because I'm not even going to hear it.
Well, he said yesterday, proximity and presence aren't the same.
Yeah. That's right.
So, same.
So I think that's where I'm at on technology is, how much I'm on it.
That's good. All right, Miss Carla, I'm interested in this because, thinking back of having small ones or same age as Katie, I felt like I had a good idea of what's hard, what's easy. I honestly have no idea how you're going to answer this question.
We still discuss social media a lot. I mean, not a lot. I shouldn't say a lot, but I do discuss it still some with them. Trevor's never been a big social media kind of person, but he's got his degree kind of in that entertainment field. And so we had discussions there with him a lot about not believing everything that comes across the screen, and things that come across the screen can completely change your views on things. And so we did have a lot of discussions there. Kinley's was more of the social media area. And so
I am shocked.
So there was lots of challenges along the way with that. And so now I don't know that it's really good for us because, we're sharing the funny memes and it's a
form. Stay connected. Yeah,
I was just saying, it's a form that we stay connected and talk. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that we don't send each other something funny or, Trevor's sending me something important facts about something I need to know. And then we're sharing really funny ones together.
Back to that Truth Matters online. So you were in Branford when I was in Lake City, and I actually shared this news article in the headline of it when I preached in Live Oak. There was a news article that I refused to check and see if it was true or not because the headline was, "Man with no hands and no legs is armed and on the run," according to local police. I refused to check it because I just wanted it to be true deep in my soul.
Yeah. So growing up, our conversations about social media was, there was totally different things I had to, parent there. But I was, again, another one of those strict moms. We didn't do, didn't even do phones until they got to the middle school age where they were in activities. Mm-hmm. And so that I could find out where they're at. Or practice is over early and I need to pick them up. And then they weren't allowed to have any type of social media on their phones until they were in the higher high school levels. So pros and cons to that because, some child's going to push the button and just try it behind your back kind of thing. So there's that. And but there's always the consequences. We laid everything out ahead of time, the consequences of all that kind of stuff. But now, we're in a completely different stage, and I don't see that.
Unless you're paying bills, there's not a whole lot of consequences.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So now they're, I still call them mini adults because, there's still some going on there. But,
the truth is that, and we joke about it, you can like it, hate it, whatever, but delayed adulthood is a thing nowadays, that there's an extended adolescence that is moving into the mid-20s for a variety of reasons. We don't have time to discuss that today, but they are still leaving the house for the most part around the same time. Not that kids don't come back and have to live at home because the economy is a little bit different, whatever, but it is that weird transition period that maybe, so it didn't exist in my life when I was growing up because I went back home during the summer, but when I graduated, I had a job, I had a house, I got married there. And I know that's not everybody's story even back then, but it's way usually not the story today. And it creates a weird space that you have to navigate as a parent.
Correct.
So, it's good.
Great.
What about you, Mary Beth? Talk to us about technology for just a second.
So our kids are almost 7 and almost 11. So the 11-year-old for like the last couple years, he's gotten a PlayStation. And so there's had to be time parameters set around that because they will quickly become addicted to that screen very quickly.
I may resemble that remark.
Yes. And then fairly recently, even with the twins, not so much Lila Kate, but with Carter, we just recently had to buckle down even more on screen time with him, which is kind of funny. I was telling Emery about it. I was like, I remember when you were about his age, we had to do the same because he had a Nintendo Switch at that age, and it starts affecting their mood. They're not wanting to get off of it when it's time to get off and all the things. And so we just had to recently buckle that down a little bit more. And yay, just in time for summer.
Welcome summer.
I know. No rules. No, we'll have to. And I will have to be diligent about being strict about those rules because I don't love routine when I'm home.
Yeah.
And so I like for them to not really have a routine. I like a summer. I like anything goes summer. But so that's kind of the tricky part with where we're at right now. But something as far as motherhood and personally is social media. And you kind of touched on this last week or the week before, but about how basically if you go looking for something, you're going to find, like, no matter which side of the aisle you're on, you're going to find it.
Correct.
And I see that true in like Reels and TikToks and stuff like that, because you will see two opposing viewpoints, like one recently, and neither one bad, but it's just like which one is, I don't know, it pulls you each way. Like one recently I saw was, you always hear, especially when you're in like the little parenting years is like first time obedience, like teach your kids first time obedience. Just no matter what, delayed obedience is disobedience. And if I say jump, you say how high and all the things. Literally just a couple days ago, I saw something from a Christian mother who was like, we don't harp on first time obedience because we want it to be more of like a heart thing and not just a robot doing what I said do. And I'm like, I see that too. Like, it's such, I don't know. I feel like it's a good thing that there's so much information out there, because there are times where it can be really encouraging or convicting when it needs to be convicting. But at the same time, there's so many opposing views that aren't necessarily bad views. And so you got to find you have to have discernment and really think about it as far as like your family and your kids, and
that's what I was about to say.
How does
to figure out what works
for your people.
Yeah, because they're all the same.
That's what I was going to say. What might work for that one child may not absolutely work for the other. I mean, my bipolar, my opposite kids. I mean, I could, I very seldom had to, or let me go all the way back. I keep forgetting, we have a bonus child, but he was like 10 years older. So, once my kids are really, parenting them, he was moving on, out of the house and all. But all the discipline for all three of those is so different. Mm-hmm. And where one, I could say that thing and obedience happened immediately. Mm-hmm. And the other one, I might have had to say on the count of three, mm-hmm. I need you. And, that kind of thing. So it did. And then again, what works in her home may not, work in
right.
home. But I think as long as we're lined up what we feel like spiritually guiding our children in our home works for us and according to the word kind of thing. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I agree. It kind of just depends on what you got going there.
Yeah, I think one of the most comforting things that I've ever heard people say about parenting, and I am super uncomfortable when it comes to parenting. Like I've said this before, like I hesitate anytime we do a series on parenting because it's like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't feel like I got it figured out, much less do a great job all the time. Like, but what they said was, we're all screwing our kids up, and the reason that was so comforting is, number one, no matter which direction you go or which tactic you take, there's a way for that to leave some scar tissue, maybe is a way to put it, in your kids. Whether you're, hey, I'm going to be the free parent who's going to give you a chance to learn on your own through your mistakes. Well, that can leave scars because develop bad habits, that go through a lot of hurt. I'm going to be the very strict parent, very protective, keep your innocence. Okay, well then that can screw your kid up because now they're trying to, find their way in life and they're not prepared. I mean, it's just
decision.
Yeah, it's just no matter what we do, we are in some way and to some degree going to, quote, screw our kids up. But none of that is beyond God's ability to use and redeem and shape to turn them into the men and women that he's created them to be. And so, that was really comforting to me. It's not an excuse to not do your best as a parent, but it's like, man, no matter what you do, there's a downside. No matter what you do, there's a way to rebel, It's kind of the stereotype that you see from kids who come from very, strict, driven homes. Well, those kids go one of two ways usually. they rebel against everything in life and could care less and are just wild and crazy, or they're neurotic type A, obsess over the slightest details, and are most likely to have a mental breakdown in college. You know, and it's like, so it doesn't really matter what you do. There's ways that all of that derails, and I think that you just can't put that on yourself, because at the end of the day, Jesus loves your kids more than you do. Yeah. And he is far more in control of where they're going and what they're doing than you are. And I don't know, that was at least comforting to me, because when I look at my kids, I tell them often, I say, boys, y'all are weird. Good news is, so am I, and normal's overrated. So we're fine. Like we're fine. I like it. So, well, we're running out of time. It's been a fun conversation. Any kind of closing thoughts, anything you want to throw out there before we wind her down?
One thing that, you talking about, like, you know, we're going to mess up and all of that. Advice that was given to me before I had our first daughter was that they belong to God first, and you're really only borrowing them for a time. So I don't know. That's something that I thought of when you were talking about that. It helped give me perspective. I'm like, okay, I probably am going to mess up, but God's sovereign.
That's right.
Stupid parenting sometimes, you know, like, not that I don't give my best and all that I do to raise them, but
God is sovereign over our stupidity.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
100%.
100%.
Yeah. Anything else? Any final thoughts?
We've had to tell ours, you know, we've never parented a teenager before. So we are learning, you know, the firstborn's a guinea pig, right?
Yeah.
From babyhood to growing up. So, and, you know, we are in the Word, we're listening to podcasts, you know, we shoot each other texts all the time. You know, did you hear this? Did you listen to that? Like, hang in. Focus on the Family says, just hang in. They
hold tight.
They hug them. You know, we just last week we listened our old church, and it was saying there's 5 T's: time, touch, talk, testimony. I can't remember the 5th one now. But maybe trust, yeah. No, traditions. Like what does your family have that they can't get at college? They can't get at their in-laws. Like they can only get that warm, fuzzy feeling at home. So we are focusing on our T's, you know, like what quality time, physical touch, you know, it doesn't matter if you don't want to hug me because you're 15, you know, I'm going to squeeze you anyways. But just hang tight.
I like that.
Me and Travis, we have 6 T's because our cat's name's Travis.
Oh. Travis. I didn't know who Travis was. It was going to get weird for me, and I guess I was like, okay, Travis.
I would say probably, if I had to look back on it, probably surrounding myself with other moms that were going through different stages when I had my kids younger. I always was part of some type of women's type ministry, and there was always different women in there of different stages. That probably was some of the best support, you know, just kind of walk you through those days when you thought, I'm doing everything wrong. I don't even know what I'm doing here. And then there's this times when I got back and looked, and I'm like, oh, why did I do it that way? I wish I wouldn't have done it that. And so there's always that other mom to kind of encourage you along and say, no, you're not, you know, or kind of lifting you up a little bit. So I think that's probably one of the most important things. And all the way through my seasons, when I look back, is having some of those women in my life.
Well, I think that's really good, because I think one of the mistakes that we make as parents, people, not just parents, but just people, is we only surround ourselves by people who are where we are and going through what we're going through and thinking about what we're thinking about. And that just provides such a limited perspective on life. When you have people who are in front of you, behind you, whatever, just another season of life, it just kind of opens up your perspective. Like, you know, Katie talking about, you know, hey, it's kind of tough right now, that freedom or whatever. And, you know, that's all she's ever known. But then to hear Carla say, oh, no, that was the toughest. It gets a little bit easier after some of that. You know, that's just something you don't get when you're just around people who have 9th graders and 6th graders. And, you know, so that's good. Well, you know, I just want to say shout out to you for being moms. You know, none of us would be where we are without the moms in our life. And so you guys are crushing it, and appreciate you taking time to be on the podcast for us to talk about that. And I hope you guys will all join us back next time for another conversation. Going to be in a little bit different direction where we have some guys around the table. So hope you're back for that. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk About That. We hope it encouraged and challenged you as we continue to grow on this journey of faith and embrace community together. If you have any questions, thoughts, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us through our social media channels or visit our website to stay connected. Your support is what makes this podcast impactful. If you found today's discussion meaningful, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share the episode with a friend, and leave a review. Your engagement helps us spread the message and connect with others who can be encouraged through these conversations. Until next time, we hope this episode inspired you to live out your faith this week. Keep the conversations alive and remember we're all on this journey together.